All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more complexity casting action. This is going to be HoN Tour, Day 3 of Cycle 1, Diamond Division, lower round of 4. This is the lower bracket semifinals. So we do have Complexity taking on Lions eSportsKlubb in an epic best of 3 complexity in a fight to stay in it. Of course, they were favorites to win the entire cycle perhaps, but being knocked down in that winner's bracket semifinal match 2-1 against Trademark Esports, they do find themselves in the lower bracket and just one series away from elimination. So they're going to have to fight very, very hard to stay in this one. And going up against them is going to be Lions, who's actually had a decent run through the lower bracket here in the Diamond Division. And they've looked good. They've looked very strong. Super KGE, one of the better carry players in the scene, and just looking very good in general. So I'm excited to actually cast these games. And I hope that you guys are excited to be here because it is another day of HoN Tour. I am super stoked. Now, one thing that I do have to get out of the way real quick here for Complexity, Haxerin is... I know that B-Kid was MIA, and so now Hax is MIA as well. So I'm not actually sure. I think Hax is missing, perhaps? So we'll see what exactly is going on over there. But the Complexity roster is not standard at this point. It's a bit interesting. Blind bands, we did have Ophelia as well as, I believe, oh man, I accidentally cleared the blind bands here. So let's see if I can actually try to figure this out. The match has expired. Fantastic. Keeper of the Forest, definitely blind band, as well as Parasite. And not Tempest. Looks like Fade. Yeah, so Fade, Keeper of the Forest, and Parasite were the blind bands here. I unfortunately did clear the chat right as those were going through, so I apologize about that one, guys. But we are already well into the lock-picking stage, so let's get on into it. Plague Rider and Engineer, as well as Wretched Hag being locked out there. So B-Kid on Complexity's side, going with the first lock, Plague Rider, a great suicide hero, of course, and immediately followed up there by Hanskin. On the other side, Engineer and Wretched Hag. Great support and a nice suicide or short lane solo, of course. Wretched Hag is one of those heroes that Complexity likes to play. Now, Haxerin does typically play that Wretched Hag hero, so without him here, it'd be a little bit interesting to see who might play that instead. Of course, B-Kid or Shams would probably pick that role up. Complexity goes further by locking the Ophelia as well as the Bubbles. Of course, Ophelia with her ganking presence, her pushing presence, and just great farm in the jungle. Chessie would, of course, be happy to have that hero. And Moonmander's favorite, Bubbles, makes it in there for a nice suicide pick, should they choose to go for that. Nighthound rounds out the picking stage, the lock picking stage here from Lions. So that would be a very interesting hero to see if we actually had him making it into the pick pool. But something tells me with 5 other standard heroes that Nighthound's somehow going to be left out of there. So Hanskin just throwing that one in for laughs and giggles. Going into the banning phase, guys, we do have Tempest, Dark Lady, Draconis, Meraxis, Pebbles, and Tundra all being banned here. So a couple of the hard carries here. Dark Lady and Draconis being eliminated, the hard farmers, the people that are really going to take it into the late game. And then also 3 of the strength initiators here. Pebbles, Meraxis, and Tundra all being eliminated. Meraxis and Pebbles do nearly the same job. They fulfill the same role. Whereas Tundra actually does something a little bit different with his map control, utilizing that bird. He's able to more effectively set up ganks at slightly earlier levels and put out some more damage. So, and then finally we do have the Tempest ban here. So B-Kid making sure to get rid of Tempest, one of the strongest junglers in the game in terms of raw GPM. Has great ganking potential with his Glacial Blast, and of course the push potential from those elemental minions. Going into the picking phase here, Complexity starts it out with first pick on Silhouette. So getting the hard carry out of the way. And once again, I'm not sure if possibly Haxerin's on one of the other accounts here, but Haxerin might not be here, and that's typically a hero that he will play. So I don't know exactly what's going on over there. But yeah, if somebody else has to play Silhouette, that would be very, very interesting. Back over to the other side, Glacius and Magnus are the first 2 picks for Lions. Going to be going up and doing their thing in the middle lane, most likely. A great combination there. The point stun on Magnus, one of the strongest initiators in the game. And then, of course, Glacius, a completely standard support. We'll see if LG or SealKid picks that one up, as LG typically plays secondary support and jungler, but SealKid, primary support over there for Lions. Getting back over to Complexity. Final lock, or excuse me, the final pick for them is, in fact, going to be Nymphora as well as Behemoth. So bringing out the hero that B-Kid likes to play in Behemoth, and that'll be, once again, interesting. So we'll see who does, in fact, play that one, as he does have the great, extremely long-range stun afforded to him. And, of course, with Nymphora there, spamming that Grace of the Nymph, she should be able to keep his mana pool replenished the entire time so that he's able to keep harassing with that. Moon Queen comes out for Lions, going to be played by Super KGE. Now, this is a hero that we've seen a lot more frequently recently. She was gone for a very long time, but got some buffs to her bouncing glaives as well as to that moonbeam. It increased the cooldown, or excuse me, increased the stun duration on that beam all the way up to 1 second on a 6-second cooldown at 800 range. Pretty damned brutal spell. And now, of course, it will enable her to really stay relevant in the early game and get the job done in the late game with the exceptional farm that she gets. First pick out of the lock is going to be Ophelia for Chessie. Complexity happy to pick that hero up. Response from Lions is going to be the Engineer Wretched Hag. So LG actually going to play the Wretched Hag over here, as Hanskin's going to pick up the Engineer, picking up the secondary support role. Final pick in the game, it's going to be Complexity picking up Bubbles, who's going to be played by Shams. Now, B-Kid is on this Behemoth for the time being, so I guess Taxeron's not here. Moon Meander is actually playing Silhouette. So, what? That's very interesting for sure. Very, very interesting. So, we get to see Farm Meander. It's been a while, my friend. It's been a while. Shams, of course, hauls ass up to the lane, trying to get that ward up, sells those red boots, doesn't want to get stuck with those right away. The Hellborn team going to make their way into the jungle. We do have SealKid on the Glacius, as well as LG on the Wretched Hag, and Hanskin on the Engineer. Taking up the rear is Krebson on the Magnus, and of course in the top lane doing the solo thing, Super KGE, the hard carry player here for Lions Esports. But guys, let's get it on, get excited, because it is weekend number 2 of HoN Tour Cycle 1. We're going to have some absolutely awesome games for you. Going to be covering all the Complexity matches here on twitch.tv/ComplexityHoN. So if you have not had your fill of Complexity HoN, which I know you can't because nobody ever gets enough of this Complexity team, then make sure to stick right here where we'll be covering all the matches all weekend long. Should be absolutely awesome. Shout out to S2 Games for allowing me to be here and for putting together such an awesome, awesome tournament where, you know, every single day there are awesome matches going on in the HoN Tour event. Of course, if you didn't catch it, I covered 5 days of Gold League matches this week, so you can check out all the VODs down there in the info section if you click on Tourney VODs. And then, of course, there are links to all the series that we have covered in terms of HoN Tour. But guys, the game has started. The bell has rung. The players are making their way toward their lanes, and right now it's looking like Chessie might be going into the offensive jungle. Franzi and B-Kid on the Behemoth teaming up here in the middle lane, as you would expect. And of course, we do have the Suicide Bubbles. That is being played by Shams, and I have played against Shams in this position, so I know that he is an experienced Bubbles player and at least good enough to bring me down in that Suicide lane. But he's doing a fantastic job up there, I'm sure. So, Complexity, even though they're down a player, they're still going to be in fine hands. Shams subbing in as the 6th here today. Silhouette Moonmander is going to be taking on the bottom lane, as Magnus and Engineer are going to be down there. Hanskin trying to get in and lay in the auto attacks. Maybe land a keg so that a Lava Surge follow-up might be enough to get some damage done. But not going to happen so far, as Silhouette's playing quite far back. Ophelia trying to get something done as well, as it looks like she did have a Vagabond leader, but that was lost maybe perhaps to the Glacius, who is still at full. No, he's not full mana, actually. So he has used a couple of those Ice Imprisonments. getting a kill on the Ophelia minions. That, of course, does keep them locked down for quite a period of time. 10 seconds for creeps. Yeah, so quite a long time, and able to get the kill on that one. So great job for Glacius. Magnus and Engineer still trying to land the kills onto Silhouette. Now, Silhouette does have her tree grapple that's going to allow her to get away relatively fast from the Magnus and Engineer. But if they're able to keep her locked down long enough, the amount of slow that's going to be put out by that turret might enable them to dive into the tower for the last 1 or 2 auto attacks that they might need. And Silhouette's going to need to make sure to keep her health very high as well. If she does not, then she could easily be bursted down by the double stun lane. And it's interesting to see that we do have the Magnus Engineer in the bottom, rather than, actually a keg going to be hitting right there, doing a decent amount of damage to Silhouette. But yeah, interesting to see that we have the Engineer Magnus lane in the long lane rather than in the middle. You would typically see the 2 middle double stun lanes going up against one another, but not so in this case, as B-Kid will be there, but nobody to fight against as LG's up on the high ground. Franzi, of course, trying to do his best to keep them battered back and make sure that Hag is not going anywhere, not getting any kind of experience. But LG doing a decent job over there. Not able to get any last hits so far, but getting experience. He's level 3, which is more than you can say about a lot of people in that situation against a double stun lane, especially one with such range as this B-Kid on the Behemoth does. Franzi's still posturing as we do see a little bit of stop cancel animation coming out of Behemoth. He wants to land that fissure. He wants to land it so bad. But knowing that as long as he's keeping LG back and getting the farm on, he's doing his job. Doesn't actually need to go for the kills. Doesn't need to overextend and set himself up for a position, a gank, where he might otherwise be kind of in a rough position. A fissure comes out. Unfortunately does miss as LG is kind of in position now. The Zeal stun going to follow up from Nymphora and a couple of auto attacks, so putting out some more harassment. Nice job from Franzi utilizing the correct pathing there. It's kind of hard when there's a fissure in this vector and then you're trying to get the Zeal stun off, but great job from Franzi. Of course, highly experienced with Nymphora and all of the other supports that he does play. Nymphora makes her way toward the top rune, and there's not going to be one there, but Ophelia will pick up that invis bottom, and with that Vagabond later, might try to set something up, but backs off for now. She's actually going to be making her way down there. No, she's going to just continue to farm some creeps. A very passive game so far, as neither team is really trying to make anything happen. Both suicide, well, the suicide in the middle and the suicide up here in the long lane top, both doing their best to just not die. Shams, of course, having a harder go of that without the blink ability to spam. Shell Serve takes a little bit longer and costs a bit more mana than Wretched Hag's Flash of Darkness does. And of course, with the Ice Imprisonment, which is still level 1, interesting to note that he went for Ice Imprisonment Tundra Blast level 2 instead of Ice Imprisonment level 2. Glacius has done a good job of making sure that Shams is consistently pushed back. A pause coming out now. Hopefully that won't last too long, and nothing's wrong with complexity. I was talking with Moonmander a little bit earlier, and he was saying that he was experiencing some lag. So hopefully that's not coming into effect here, but it does appear that Chessie's computer has frozen, and he needs a restart. So he's going to go ahead and get that taken care of. In the meantime, we can go ahead and evaluate these lanes just a tiny bit more here. Engineer and Magnus, of course, doing very well in the bottom lane. Krebson up to 295 gold per minute. If we take a look at his last hits and denies, he's at 26 and 14 here at 5 minutes into the game. So looking very, very strong. His opponent, Moonmander, 2 and 2 on the Silhouette, so not getting the job done down there. He's gotten up to level 4, not awful in terms of levels, but not getting any creep kills really whatsoever. Moonmeander's having a very rough time at 86 gold per minute in this lane, and he needs some support. He needs some ganks. He needs to be able to push the lane back and effectively farm if he hopes to be relevant going into the mid and carry into the late game. But right now, he's really having a rough time, and he really does need the support of his team. Maybe a lane swap something like that. But even in these other lanes, it's not going to be real easy for him. If he puts himself in the middle lane, he becomes more vulnerable to ganks, but we'll see. Also, something else to note here, that Lions is not running a jungler. This is why complexity is actually still relatively equal with the golden experience, even though they're losing their short lane and their suicide. It comes down to this Ophelia, who is 189 gold per minute now, but level 4. Actually, everyone on complexity is level 4 right now, so interesting. The experience, of course, is a little bit less equal over here for the Hellborn side. But it comes down to having the jungler in Ophelia. She's able to get the golden experience that the team might otherwise not have. So the decreased golden experience that they're getting in those long and short lanes, it doesn't affect them as much because of Ophelia getting her job done in the jungle. Now, I wish that Ophelia was farming a little bit better, maybe something like a Tempest instead of Ophelia, which Chessie says that Ophelia can farm faster than anybody else in the jungle, but she kind of relies on the creep spawns, and Tempest doesn't. He just kind of gets 350 GPM just by being Tempest and doing your job even remotely right. But, yeah, Chessie's still going to get the job done, and of course he does reconnect here, and wouldn't be surprised to see him pick up a Minotaur or a Catman champion at some point and try to make a gank happen, perhaps in that middle lane. LG playing a decent game pretty far back, but if he's able to get the flank on the Minotaur after the blink, the fissure comes in, the Zeal stun to follow up, then very well we could be looking at a dead Wretched Hag. Legion team still needs just a slight bit more time. B-Kid is at 34 and 13 in the middle lane, so currently the top farmer in the game at 355 gold per minute. How many was that? 34 and 13. That is very, very close, if not perfect CS. That's like 1 or 2 off, perhaps. But looking very strong on the Behemoth so far. And of course, LG not really able to get too much done there. 3 and 1. He is level 5 though, so the highest level in the game. Tied up with Super KGE there in the top lane. Franzi trying to get some stuff done as well as he grabs a couple of denies. Top lane, though, the absolute free-farming Moon Queen, who has not had to do anything as a result of this Glacius, just kind of hanging out and making sure that Shams is pushed way the heck back. She's sitting at 26 and 7. So tied up with the Magnus there in the long lane. Both of them are looking at 294 gold per minute now. Game is going to be unpaused here as both teams are ready, and the announcer says it best, let's get it on. Back into the farming stage. I do feel like this is going to be a relatively passive game for a while here, as Moon tries to grab a last hit with the Death Lotus activation, but not quite able to. Magnus finishes up his Steam Boots, and looks like Glacius might have been in a little bit of trouble there as Shams walked over and dropped an auto attack. Moon Queen finishes up her Steam Boots as well. As Steam Boots all around. Fissure comes in the middle lane as Wretched Hag takes a little bit of damage. Tries to grab that creep kill with a sonar screen, but not quite able to. Bubbles takes more harassment there in the top lane. It looks like the Thunder Blast as well as a couple auto attacks did come in, but Moon Queen not in position to lend a hand, and Bubbles will be able to escape for now. Bottom rune spawns. It is regen, so LG, who has been able to pick up that bottle just by virtue of not dying and by getting a last hit here or there, is able to actually get in there. A Lava Surge comes out in the bottom lane as well as Moon Meander takes a little bit of attack damage. Engineer is roaming now, as well as the Glacius here in the middle lane, so there could be an attempted gank setup from Lions Esports, and I think that they might have relative success if they're able to get into position, but Franzi doing a great job of making sure to scout out the available positions that they would be to come in. Yes. Stream. Sorry, I had to make sure to answer Super KGE there. Guys, I do request that you don't whisper these guys while they're playing. We want them to have the best games possible. spamming them in the middle of the game would not be ideal for that, but hopefully the players do turn on D&D so that they're not going to get harassed by that as well. Moon Queen going in right there, lands one of the moonbeams, and then activates the... No, she canceled it. Okay, so she stopped, canceled that one. Wretched Hag is taking a little bit of pressure there as the Zeal Stun comes in. The Skeleton King would probably use that route. He's a little bit lower on mana, so he most certainly did. It's unfortunate that you can't see the skills on the Skeleton Kings for Parasite or an Ophelia minion, something like that. I remember hearing about that on a podcast recently, but it is relatively unfortunate. Krebson is just kind of chilling right now. He's actually activating the ultimate, the eruption being channeled. In comes the Lava Surge, and down goes Moon Meander, first of many. Lions Esports puts themselves in a lead here as the hard carry player for Complexity takes a nice setup by Krebson. He, of course, did pick up the Apprentice Robes in order to have enough mana to get that gank accomplished. And he might turn them into a relatively early Hellflower or something of those, something of that nature. Something with an Arcana, I would expect. Mana Potion activated as he'll get back into the farming mood. B-Kid is, of course, still the top farmer in the game at 340 gold per minute on that behemoth. He will be looking very strong to get a nice early portal key already with red boots and a bottle. He should be able to have a 10-minute portal key if that is what he chooses to go for. The problem is that he doesn't really have a supporting cast at all. Complexity kind of gathering up here to do a little bit of pub training and trying to get themselves back into the swing of things, but with 3 players at 100 GPM or less, and Ophelia, the only other player above 200, Complexity, the Golden Experience Lead, actually a Backblast comes in, hitting nothing but creeps, but a good amount of anti-push coming through, and they should be able to deny this tower, perhaps. Infora is going to come in, the Fissure as well as the Zeal Stun, the Shell Surf is going to finish him off. They did trade the tower for that, so it's honestly not even the worst thing to do. Did he get sent? Huh. So that creep died. Interesting. It's not the worst thing to do, denying that tower for the death of a Glacius. And the Glacius even got the kill on that skeleton creep, so 100 gold in his pocket after his death. Not the worst thing to do. Getting that deny was very nice, and of course Complexity still pretty far behind. 1,000 experience and a little bit of gold now, so not pretty far behind. A moderate deficit here for Complexity. Moon Queen continues to do her thing in the top lane. 352 GPM on that Moon Queen, and of course she is a carry that can absolutely snowball. Her farm can get ridiculously out of control very, very quickly, and if they're not able to deal with her relatively soon, Super Kate GE is going to pick up some things like the Whispering Helm, get the stacks going, and then once she starts bouncing up the multi-strike, she's really going to have a lot of farming ability, and she's going to just snowball in that respect very quickly. Moon Meander, on the other hand, still struggling to get his farm on. 132 gold per minute, 15 and 9 in terms of CS now. Grabs 2 more to put himself up to 17 and 9. Doing a nice job of hiding in the trees and grabbing the CS where he can. But when you're having to buy a bolstering armband on Silhouette instead of just right-clicking your boots, you're in a little bit of trouble. He will finish the Steam Boots here. He'll keep them on Strength. No, changes them to Agility for now. I would expect that he would have kept them on Strength, perhaps. Just wanting to make sure that he didn't die. But Moon will, of course, try to keep farming. Gonna emulate his inner Haxorn, channel that, and say, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and get as much recovery farm as I possibly can. Because that's what Haxorn does. He has a bad start, and then he just recovers, and as soon as you know it, he's at 500 gold per minute again. We'll see if Moon can do that once as well, as the Complexity team will start to get a few creeps here in the jungle. Now, once again, only a couple hundred gold behind. Ophelia hits level 7 and dominates one Catman champion, a Vagabond leader, and a Skeleton King. Kills the Vagabond leader there and picks up a Minotaur, so now she's got a ganking posse set up. We'll see if she does turn her attention perhaps to this bottom lane, where Engineer, Magmus, and Glacius have teamed up to perhaps get a little bit of pushing done. Magmus sitting on 1,400 gold at this point. It's possible that he did just pick up the apprentice robes for the increased mana, the 6 intelligence that he is afforded by that item, and then we'll pick up the portal key, then use the apprentice robes later to finish one of those arcanas. So that, in fact, is what I think he will be doing. Silhouette trying to get her farm back up, already back to 175, but the Whispering Helm has been picked up here by Moon Queen, has not dominated a creep to start stacking the jungle just yet, but that is already triple stack. The multi-strike being utilized to kill those fire ogres very, very quickly. And B-Kid picks up his portal key as well. The Nymphora teleport is activated, and they might be able to get a gank off here. Magnus is going to get caught on the wrong side of town as he does Steam Bath. He's going to Lava Surge, and will they go back in? Actually looks like, yes, they will go in. Magnus is caught on the wrong side. The tree grapple is activated, but it won't be effective enough to get the stun off, and she just pulls that tree away. The push will be coming in now, though, as Silhouette is leading the charge with the Relentless Salvo, activates that Death Lotus as well. And he'll be getting to work on the defensive tower. Double Minotaurs plus that Skeleton King will be pretty effective at dropping the tower. Magma's hiding off to the side. We'll see if he starts to channel the Eruption at some point, tries to go in for another tower deny, or perhaps for a little bit of counter initiation, but a nice scout out there with the Shell Surf. The Fissure comes in immediately afterward. Zeal being used to clean up the creeps, but Magnus looks like he'll have to back off and get potioned up. Not going to be able to get the jump on the Complexity squad this time, as all 5 players are out here. They're spread out. They're not quite sure if Magnus does have that portal key. If Mag hadn't picked up the Abyssal, or excuse me, the Robes of the Apprentice, then he would have the portal key at this point. But we will see. Super KGE continues to farm. Level 11 does have a TP on him, though. If he needs to get into this fight, it could be a very, very good fight for Lions if they get the proper initiation. But level 7 Behemoth, if he's able to drop that Shockwave, excuse me. If he's able to drop the Shockwave as well as the Fissure on top of a couple of these players, you could be looking at a very dead Engineer, Glacius, Wretched Hag, any of them. But it looks like Complexity will fall back for the time being. B-Kid and Franzi going to be teleporting up into the top lane. They're looking for Moon Queen. She's level 11, though. If they go onto her in the jungle, there is a very good chance, if they can't lock her down completely, she will turn that around and possibly get the kill on both of them. But we'll have to see, guys, as both teams kind of go back to farming for the time being. Moon Queen comes in with a Lunar Beam to grab 1 creep kill there. The Complexity team, they're trying to do a lot of roaming, but they haven't been able to effectively secure any kills. The only kill so far has been the Glacius over here in this position during that push on mid. And for a very aggressive lineup with this Bubbles, Ophelia, Nymphora, and Behemoth, the Lions team has done an extremely effective job of actually maintaining a lead here and making sure they're not out of position, not getting set up with on ganks, and looking good. They do find themselves in a 1,700 gold lead at this point and a 3,700 experience lead. So Complexity, they're on the back foot at this point. They want to be able to get that tower down, but they're falling behind desperately in terms of experience. A lot of that comes down to Nymphora and Behemoth, who've been roaming around trying to set up kills. But B-Kid, you can see it in his gold per minute. He hasn't died, so he's simply just not getting creep kills anymore because he is doing all this roaming, using a Fissure spam to grab 1 there. But as a result of not farming individually, then these players are going to be falling behind in experience, which is what it is showing, of course. So it picks up a Whispering Helm now of her own. While she picks up the Helm of the Victim, will be finishing up the Whispering Helm as soon as she grabs the Hungry Spirit over here from the side shop. Ophelia continues to try to get her jungle on. This is another thing that's kind of unfortunate, though. When you are running that hard carry player that does like to farm the jungles, as Whispering Helm Silhouette certainly does, then having a jungler that really needs the jungle, like this Ophelia does, it doesn't necessarily work out very well for you. You need to be able to get those triple stacks going for your carry. And we see on the other side the triple stacks that Moon Queen's been going through. 417 gold per minute now, just absolutely getting ridiculously big already with the Firebrand and an additional 800 gold saved up. So could be looking at that Geometer's Vein very, very quickly here. But it's kind of getting out of control. And there's not an answer from Complexity at this point. Moonmeander is starting to get back up there at 247 gold per minute, but he's going to need more time. And as soon as that Moon Queen feels like she's big enough to start pushing, Complexity is going to be in some trouble. If she's able to get that Geometer's Bane Shrunken Head combination relatively soon, then Complexity is not really going to be able to stop her in the team fights. Level 16 Geometer's Bane Shrunken Head, Moon Queen going into a bunch of like level 10s and 11s. It's going to be very bad times for the Complexity squad. So they want to be able to get some more towers. They want to be able to start getting pickoffs before then, and they might run into Moon Queen as they do spawn her out with this one Ward of Sight. The Catman champion is going to hang out trying to get the stack going over here as well. But a fissure comes in. B-Kid reveals his position on that behemoth, and he will start to fall back once again. Another failed gank attempt as Nymphora will be TPing in right next to a Ward of Sight. We'll see if ALG actually does get out of there. Oh, no! Wretched Hag takes the fissure, but immediately a counter initiation comes in form of Magnus. The Invis Rune is activated, though, on Behemoth, as well as the Ophelia's Gift coming out. Kelpfield catching 3 players, and Ophelia comes in from behind. Glacius is going to go down immediately, but Ophelia trapped inside of the energy field. Down she goes. She's going to drop the Bound Eye, picked up by Magnus. The counter kills are happening now, though, as Moon Queen's in the middle of things. And down goes Bubbles once more. Even going to be able to take out a couple of these Wards of Sight. So a fight that certainly did not go in Complexity's favor. They wanted to make sure that they got the kill onto Wretched Hag, forcing her to use the blink and get out of position there, but not quite able to capitalize on it. The ports came in. 3 counter ports at that point did come in, and they were able to get the return kills, of course, taking down Ophelia and Bubbles in that fight in return for Glacius and Engineer. Now, the biggest casualty of that, though, is the Bound Eyes, most likely. Actually, Moonmeander going to be caught out of position here as the Ice Imprisonment is activated. The Shadow is popped as well, so he's going to try to get out of there. Magnus does not have enough mana for a Portal Key plus a stun. If he did, then that could very well be a dead Moonmeander, but does not have enough mana to make that one happen. But the biggest casualty of that engagement perhaps was Ophelia, just because she did have the Bound Eye. Chessie, knowing that they needed to reassert map control in this game in order to get back into it, really. They needed to be able to eliminate the enemy team's wards so that they could get ganks and better positioning in team fights, knowing that that's the only way they're going to get back into this game. Buys the Bound Eye, loses it within less than 2 minutes. So that is a huge blow. Of course, Complexity's warding will now be the one taking damage as a result of that Bound Eye being on the map. Moon Queen finishes up her Geometer's Bane here at 20 minutes into the game. She is now about to breach the 500 gold per minute mark. And looking kind of dumb farmed. She's getting very, very big, about twice the GPM of Silhouette now, who has just picked up her Firebrand. So going very similar routes. The difference, of course, is that Moon Queen has already finished up the Geometer's Bane. She also has a Ring of the Teacher. And Silhouette's just started that Geometer's Bane and doesn't have Mystic Vestments or anything like that. Moon Queen also does have another 1,000 gold and is about to hit level 16. So that's kind of a thing. If she's able to finish up that Shrunken Head in the next 5 minutes or so, which I expect that she might be able to do, then Moon Queen will be able to just push into the enemy team, simply walk forward to their base, and Complexity's ability to stop that is going to be extremely limited. But Complexity will try to keep going here, trying to bring something back into their favor. As the golden experience lead, it's not gotten out of control by any means. It's 6,000 experience lead here at 21 minutes into the game. That's a pretty substantial lead, but it's by no means insurmountable. And so the Complexity team will just keep farming. They're playing patient, as Complexity knows how to do. They know how to stick in a game, not get really mentally in their own heads, not get put on tilt, and just stay in, stay calm, and bring it back with a comeback. So that's what they're going to be trying to do here, as all their players still keep trying to farm. Shams is level 8 on the bubbles. That's unfortunate. He's been trying to get farmed throughout this game at 163 gold per minute, but he just hasn't really been able to. 35 CS so far, and not quite able to farm a lane. Of course, with the Behemoth and the Silhouette in the game, there is a lot of farm missing from the map that they're soaking up. Moon Queen does hit Level 16 now picks up that Mighty Blade, so going to be looking for her Shrunken Head at some point here. B-Kid wanted to run down this Wretched Hag, who was able to get out, though. Level 3 Haunt being, excuse me, level 2 Haunt immediately after that, leveling up the Flash of Darkness to get the increased range as well as the better cooldown on that one. Shams is able to farm a little bit up here off the tower. He's now 700 gold off of his portal key, which is going to be some very nice initiation for the Complexity team once they're able to get that. And leave B-Kid for possibly the counter initiation and get in there, drop the Kelp Field, gets the silences off. And that's great for Bubbles to have, of course, that increased mobility. But still a very passive game at this point, guys. 3-3 at 22 minutes into the game. Complexity finds themselves down 2,200 gold and 6,000 experience as the Lions team is trying to make something happen. The apprentice robes have been sold here by Magnus or put in the bank, but I don't know of anything that takes a Neophyte's book and an apprentice robes other than a light brand, but that's not in the game just yet. So I think that he's going to go for the apprentice robes and possibly turn that into a storm spirit. That, of course, would be an extremely nice item to have for his Moon Queen. Able to spirit her away for 2 seconds should a sheep stick or a hellflower be activated on that hero. Should go a long way in order to maybe save that hero in the middle of a team fight, but Hellflowers are a very, very long way away for the Complexity team. They're still working on portal keys on Bubbles. They're still working on Shrunken Heads for Behemoth. And so they're just going to be working on those items. On the other side of the map, though, Hellflower not quite so far away for LG, who I believe is about 500 gold away at this point. And that item is going to be very nice for locking down someone like the Silhouette, or really even anyone on their team. The Bubbles, the Silhouette, the Behemoth, those will probably be the primary targets with that one. Even locking down the Ophelia before she's able to get the Ophelia's gift off would be a great use of that Hellflower. But look to see that one coming out in about 400 more gold, and LG might just get a lot more active. LG at 247 GPM, so hasn't been a ridiculous farmer in this game thus far, but he's done a very good job of not dying 1-0-1 in that suicide mid lane. And of course, just getting the farm where he can, as all these players are. Moon Queen does finish up that Shrunken Head here 24.5 minutes into the game. That's what I talked about. Getting it pre-25 minutes. They're literally just going to be able to walk down the rest of the outer remaining towers now, which they do have all 6 towers up for Complexity. That's incredible. I can't tell you the last time that at 24 minutes into the game, there were only 2 tower kills. This game has been so passive from both these teams, both knowing that they're very close to making it extremely deep into the Diamond Division. Here we are, of course, down to the last 6 teams, so even losing out right here would guarantee you 5th, 6th place. But neither of these teams do want to go down. They want to continue. They want to go on to the top 4. They want to go on to those grand finals, fight for the $4,000 first place prize and the 4,000 points toward that HoN Tour Season 1 land finals, of course. So both these teams playing extremely cautious. They don't want to make mistakes. They want to be able to get the positioning that they need and take team fights that are toward their advantage. LG does pick up another Arcana. I believe that's the 3rd one. I'm almost positive. Let's take the look. No, it's actually only going to be the 2nd one. So sorry about that. I could have sworn that I had seen one already picked up while he had one in the inventory, but unfortunately that's not the case for LG. He's still going to be about another 1,200 gold off of that next Arcana. And this really tells the story of the game right here. There's creeps right here on Magnus's own side of the river, and he's not only not farming the creeps, he's not in experience range of the creeps that are dying, but he's dug into the trees back here because he's so scared. Both teams doing a very effective job of counterwarding. The Bound Eye is now on Engineer as Franzi and Hanskin are going at it. Ward Wars, as I like to call it. Word of Revelations being dropped, trying to block each other's actions. Franzi, of course, a great player, able to get that one done. Managing your opponent's resources is crucial in this kind of a game. making sure that they are not able to maintain that golden experience lead while your team is able to have full access to all that golden experience is very, very important, of course. And Complexity are masters of that. That's why you see the golden experience lead remaining relatively constant. The gold lead has been widened by about 1,000 in the last 10 minutes or so. But the experience lead remains pretty constant there between 5,000 and 6,000 gold. More counter warning going down by the Alborn team, and it looks like they might want to take Kongor. A Wolf Commander has been dominated, so it's going to be providing that additional aura. Pumps Moon Queen's damage up to all the way at 270. And with all the counter warding being done here, looks like Kongor is going to be attempted. Some spells being used to keep the big guy locked down. And the Legion team, they either don't know or don't feel like they can take the fight. And I would definitely agree that they cannot take the fight at this point. The Kongor in his pit, the Moon Queen ultimate is going to hit all the players. So not able to take that fight. Shrunken Head, Geometer's Bane, Whispering Helm, Steam Boots, Mystic Vestments, and a Token of Life here at 28 minutes in for Super KGE, hitting for 268 with the power of that Wolf Commander. And level 18. Man, oh man, this guy is farming. Lions still continues to play it safe. They do have all 6 towers left to push for Complexity, so should they take those down, that's when the gold lead might get a little bit out of hand for Complexity. The Complexity team did, of course, just take down this top tower. While the Kongor kill was going on, they were able to drop this ward right here and get the top tower done. So nice job being able to take what they can, and that's reduced the gold lead to the lowest it's been in quite some time. 4 players up here collapsing onto where Shams was just a moment ago, but that Bubbles has slipped his way back to town as he's going to be picking up probably an Arcana or possibly a Storm Spirit here in the near future. Astrolabe is finished up on Ophelia. Quite delayed. 30-minute Astrolabe on Chessie's Ophelia. Very, very delayed. A lot of that has to deal with the lack of towers that they've pushed. They have pushed only 3 towers now, and Chessie hasn't been able to successfully participate in many ganks. And, of course, with the Bound Eye that they already picked up. So now this is where it gets interesting. Complexity knows they can't fight for any of their towers, so they're going to do their best. Now, the next part of this game is a race. Both teams are going to lose all of their outer towers, essentially. It's Complexity's... they're going to be attempting to try to get the last hits on all these towers, and they actually fail right there as Moonmander, that was a shadow being caught out. So that was kind of odd. The Hellfire as well as the Bat Blast being applied, trying to get the kill on that hero and not quite able to because it was a shadow. A nice job utilizing those teleports in from Lions, though. They're able to increase their gold lead even more by taking 2 towers in that top lane and then denying the counter push from Complexity. So essentially what Lions is going to do from now on, which Storm Spirit finished up on Krebson. So this Lions team is getting preposterously farmed. They're getting all their items. Storm Spirit just finished, as well as the Hellflower on Hag, as we saw. But yeah, the Lions team, they're just going to push down all these outer towers, and every time Complexity should be trying to counter push a different lane, trying to take the tier 2 tower in mid and trying to take the tier 2 tower in top. They're going to have to trade the outer tower and the secondary outer tower for one of those middle towers because they simply can't fight unless they catch them completely out of position and are able to lock down that Moon Queen before literally anything happens. Then they back off, and then they do it again at the next tower after the Aegis of Life is burned. That's the only way that they're going to be able to take these team fights. So it's going to be very, very difficult, but Complexity looks like they do want to actually engage here in this bottom lane. Now, the backup is quite far away for B-Kid. If he were to get engaged upon, the Magnus cuts down another tree, and they're trying to get something done. LG gets the kill on Wretched Hag. Oh, Wretched Hag gets the kill on that tower. And B-Kid with his Shrunken Head now. You can see just how bad the Hellborn team wants to engage onto him, but they're being so cautious, waiting for that Wretched Hag to get there. And now that Hag's there, they're going to try to pick off either Nymphora or Behemoth. But actually, Wretched Hag is spotted. She's carrying the Bound Eye now. And so the attention turned once again toward towers. Lions should easily be able to take down this outer tower for the bottom lane, and will very quickly turn their attention toward the top lane here. Complexity, Nifora TPs them up there, and that's what I'm talking about. They know they can't fight, so every time they're just going to go for that counter push. Magnus does come in, a nice response from Beacon to get out of there. The ward of sight from Franzi affording him vision of that. Silhouette with a double damage, trying to clean up some of these actions. She's picked up a Shrunken Head as well, so just picking up the Firebrand in order to get a little bit faster farm. I like that pickup. She's going to go for the Geometer's Bane eventually, of course. But Moon picking his farm back up. 422 gold per minute. Not bad farm there for a Silhouette at this point in the game. And Moon Queen actually might be trying to go in on Ophelia. The haunt is applied from Wretched Hag, and he will back on off. It's incredible that we're 33 minutes into this game and there are 6 kills. This has to be one of the more passive games I've seen, and certainly one of the more passive games I've casted in recent memory. As both these teams are playing so cautious. Complexity knows that they are favored going into this, but they also know that they're down a player at this point, and they're working with replacements and with a composition that they're not too familiar with. Of course, Sham's not. He is the 6th, but he doesn't practice with the guys because they are consistently so often. But Sham's doing a good job in this game, 1-1 and 2, maintaining his farm as that Suicide Bubbles at 200 gold per minute. More counter warding, of course, going on, as that's all there is for the supports to do at this point, is ward and counter ward, knowing that no initiation is going to happen. But screw that. The Hellflower is applied as Beacon might be in a little bit of trouble. The Bat Blast comes out. One more auto attack will be all that it takes to kill the Behemoth, but he's actually going to be able to get out of there. Magnus might be in a little bit of trouble as he's going to Lava Surge on out, but Hanskin will fall. Moon Meander going to be teaming up with Beatkid as well as Shams to get that one. The Kelp Field was used, and a little bit of overextension there by Lions. And that's what Complexity needs. They need to be able to capitalize on the mistakes of their opponents. And the longer that this game goes out, I feel like Complexity does have the opportunity for a comeback here. They're getting the farm that they need. They're continually managing their opponent's resources by aggressively pushing into the jungle, even though they should, by all rights, be very scared. And by the way, did I just see a Savage Mace picked up? Yes, that is a Savage Mace. So Moon Meander picked up a Savage Mace. Yeah, Complexity all of a sudden looking a lot better. That Silhouette now pounding in auto attacks for 260 and no evasion to think of. And a perfect counter, as Wingbow was the next item of choice for the Moon Queen. The evasion afforded to her by that Wingbow will be nullified by the Savage Mace. Shams trying to TP out once again. Will Magnus go in for a stun perhaps? No, it looks like Shams will be cutting very deep into the trees. He's going to go in for one more Shell Surf and then TP on out. Actually, he won't TP on out. He's going to PK and then TP, which is a good idea because Magnus came in for an attempted kill. I'm always so impressed by the intuition of all these players, knowing that there might be 5 players in that location. Of course, they did have this ward of sight here, and they were able to watch a couple come up the river. And whenever you see 2 more, there might very well be 100 more behind them, or in this case 3, because there's a maximum of 5 players. But yeah, you gotta understand that you gotta watch the patterns, and if there's people making a beeline for you, that means that somebody's calling on their voice chat of choice. That interesting. I have no clue what that courier was doing there. Okay. Minotaur is going to go in and try to get the Tablet of Haste killed. Moon Queen will pick that one up as Ophelia does a nice job of sending that creep back to town rather than letting it get killed. But that courier, there was nobody out there, so it was definitely just doing some scouting. And it had an item on it. And I'm really hoping that it wasn't too important of an item. It couldn't have been a Bound Eye because those can't be picked up by couriers anymore, but I don't know what else it would have been. Perhaps the courier was flying to the observatory to pick up a ward. That would be very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Of course, Silhouette still trying to get her farm on. She's closing the gap with Moon Queen, who's up at 600 gold per minute, but Moon Meander only finds himself 150 behind, 500 behind, 150 behind at this point. But both these teams just, they're playing super passive. It's so hard to cast a game like this solo because I feel like I'm just saying the same things over and over again. Normally you have a co-caster to bounce ideas off of, and I will be actively searching for a co-caster. My first choice, I did just find out, unfortunately, will not be able to. I was in talks all week to try to get that one sorted out, but not going to be able to, and that's quite unfortunate. I'm sad, but we'll be looking for someone in the future. Symbol of Rage is the next item here for Moon Queen at 600 gold per minute. You just see big items coming in one after another, and this Moon Queen is very close to item capped at this point. With that Homecoming Stone being vendored in favor of a kill on Kongor at some point, then they will very easily be able to get the very item-capped Moon Queen. She's going to be able to just tear everyone apart, and Kongor does come back up, so Moon Queen going to get in there, and she will be tanking that as the HoNcast crew does connect. So I wonder what's going on over there. I thought they were going to be covering the Gold League Finals, but perhaps that one ended sooner rather than later. But happy to have them in here. Kongor is going to go down for the second time. Great job to Lions. The Token of Life will, of course, be picked up by Moon Queen as that Homecoming Stone is dropped. The top lane was pushed in by Complexity. I'm not quite sure. I didn't see any heroes up there, so it looks like it was just pushed in by creeps, as there's only one outer tower remaining for the Lions team now. But with another Token of Life, Moon Queen should be making a beeline for the last two outer remaining towers for the Complexity squad. And then, of course, they're going to be making a dash for the racks, and we'll see how Complexity chooses to approach this. I would think they're going to let these last two towers drop, not choosing to engage on that, instead opting to fight on this uphill platform, knowing that to get uphill, the Moon Queen's going to have to get very close, slightly out of position. Creeps absolutely disintegrate there to that Moon Queen. Her multi-strike doing so much damage. She's actually going to turn her attention toward that tower. The fissure comes in as the Geometer's Bane is activated. A Moonbeam goes on to Silhouette, but she looks like she wants to go balls to the wall here on the tower. The Zeal Stun comes in, and it looks like now Lions will back up. They don't want to lose the Moon Queen. They don't want to lose the Token of Life unnecessarily. She's going to go ahead and make her way into the jungle, do a little bit of regeneration, wait for the next cooldown on her Geometer's Bane, and then put more pressure into the tower. We saw in just those couple of seconds that that tower was taking a ton of life. Actually, another Zeal Stun goes out there. It does miss. The Tree Grapple attempted to be used, but instead will just be used for the additional attack speed. As Moon Queen backs off once again, the tower is now in deny range. But something tells me the Complexity crew won't be denying that one until Moon Queen does come back in. Moon Queen activates the Symbol of Rage and gets all of her health back after killing one neutral camp. This, of course, is another form of resource management, as actually the Hellfire being applied onto Moon Queen, and the deny comes in, so a nice deny from the Complexity squad. But with that Hellflower down, these racks are now in some serious trouble. Shell Surf's going to come in, but once again, that Hellflower is still down. Glyph of Fortification is activated, so great management of cooldowns here by Complexity, using the Fissure, using the Zeal Stun, the Shell Surf, the Song of the Sea, the Glyph, all to buy some more time here so that they can try to get proper initiation, waiting for Lions to make a mistake, waiting for them to get just a little bit too grouped up so that BK can get a proper initiation, immediately followed by that Bubbles, and then Silhouette might be able to get in there and do some work. The Fissure in position to get another stun off. Oh, Nymphora is actually going to be in a lot of trouble here. The Hellfire is applied once again as the Kelpfield's going to come in, as well as the Shell Surf, the Zeal as well, but the Storm Spirit is immediately applied, and I would think that Super KGE is going to back off right now. Yeah, he is going to back off. Now that's some trouble for Complexity. 70 seconds down is that Kelpfield. And with that Symbol of Rage being activated once again, Moon Queen has those 60 seconds now to really do whatever she wants. A lot of the initiation potential for the Complexity team is gone. The Geometer's been activated. Shell Surf as well as the Fissure. Now the Zeal comes in as well as the auto attacks from Silhouette. But the Creep Wave dies so quickly. Moonbeam comes out onto Silhouette as well, and down goes the melee racks. The range racks now are the target. But look at the huts. This is always so amazing to me on Moon Queen that she's able to just bounce those glaives everywhere. Killed 2 huts as well as the range racks, and even did damage to the defensive towers at that point. But Complexity, they're trying to bide their time, trying to wait for Lions to make a mistake, but Lions is playing it so passive. They aren't playing it correctly, and Complexity not finding any wiggle room here. Moon Queen is low on mana. It's not often that you have to send the Moon Queen home because she's low on mana. She's going to make her way toward this bottom tower, and that one goes down as well. Moon Queen now at 640 gold per minute. About double of any of her teammates. In fact, just exactly double of the 311 Hag down there. And looking pretty strong. 4,900 gold saved up, so she will be able to buy back if she should need to. She really needs a Savage Mace, I feel like, to be able to hit up the hill. But of course, with the short range that she does have, hitting up the hill gets her out of position pretty bad. 350 range as opposed to the 600 here of the Silhouette, and a lot of the other strong ranged agility carries. Tree Grapple being used right now just as a way of keeping Moon Queen out of the base. Complexity trying to buy time as the Zeal Stun will come in, as well as the Shell Surf Song of the Sea. The Hellfire being applied with the Kelp Field, but once again the Storm Strait's going to go down. The Illusions make their way in, and Moon Queen is trying to get something happening, but not quite able to. The Fissure as well, and she'll have to fall back. The Symbol of Rage was used. Unfortunately, she did not get any regen, and as a result, the Lions team will back up, knowing that this push is over for at least the time being. Moon Queen does need some more mana. She needs to be able to leech up. They're going to go ahead and back off. More wards coming out via the Courier, but the standoff continues here as Complexity tries to hold out. They're playing the Alamo in their base, trying to make sure that they can afford some advantage going into the team fight and hope for the best. Now, the Token of Life has just 1 minute and 19 seconds left on it, and I'm sure somebody on the Complexity squad is looking at their clock, looking at the watch. They wrote it down, and, well, if that Rax doesn't fall by the time that the Token of Life does expire. Actually, a push is going to come in there, and that could spell the start of things. ALG's going to TP in, the Hellfire being applied onto Bubbles, but no, they're going to turn it around as in comes Magnus, a Lava Surge onto 2 players. Behemoth does come in with the ultimate and does drop down Moon Queen for the first time. Wretched Hag is going to fall in the middle of things. Moon Queen activates the ult, and she is getting nasty. Down goes Silhouette. Will she buy back? One buyback already for the Complexity team as Silhouette does come back up. Franzi as well. They defend the racks, though. The Silhouette as well as the Engineer dying, and they're going to try to actually force some more. That might have been a little bit of trouble as Bubbles is going to go down, immediately followed by Ophelia, and Complexity getting a little bit cocky. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Silhouette and M4 are behind them. We want to make something happen. And B-Kid's here as well. A nice Lava Surge hitting both of them. The Storm Spirit being applied onto Moon Queen. She does have the Geometer's Bane as well as the Symbol of Rage. They're going to need to lock her down if they want to make something happen. The Symbol of Rage does expire as she's pounding damage into B-Kid. B-Kid's going to fall. Silhouette both activates their Geometer's Banes, and they're trying to make it happen. But no, Nymphora is going to fall as well. Super KGE legendary at this point. And 4 players down for the Complexity squad. Silhouette stuck behind enemy lines without a way to get herself back into the base. These racks are going to fall. Complexity caught horribly out of position there after some overextension. And with 2 sets of racks down now, Lions Esports should be in position to finish this game off. A 14,000 gold lead, 9,000 experience lead, and one of the more passive games that I've seen in quite some time. But Lions played it, dare I say, perfectly. They didn't need to go for those ganks. They had the early advantage. They maintained the early advantage. They got the huge amounts of farm on the Moon Queen. And they played it exceptionally well. An Assassin Shroud being picked up there by Super KGE. Only, 200 gold off of... Oh, what the heck? Push stick actually being sent to the wrong position, as that is Engineers. But only 200 gold off of finishing that Gen. Never mind. She didn't. She already had the Dancing Blade. The Kenjuro is picked up here by Moon Queen. That's going to be her final item of choice. She'll upgrade those Steam Boots into Post Haste at some point here, but choosing to save up for buyback for now. Not choosing to go for that one just yet. Oh man. Here in the complexity base, they're doing their best to hold it off, but of course those super creeps, mega creeps, they give you a lot less golden experience, and of course they're much tougher to kill, so the resource advantage will be compounded throughout the rest of this game. As long as it keeps going, the resource advantage should be in the favor of Lions, and keep going further that way. Lions, of course, has their entire jungle, both sets of ancients that they should be able to farm, but we'll see if they choose to maybe just push it in. If they put all 5 of their players in that top lane and just camp them there, well, there's not a whole lot of complexity to do. The other lanes are going to push in, and eventually they're going to have to get out of position in order to deal with those other lanes, and that will be Lions' time to strike. They're going to want to get something done there. Complexity continuing to try to farm, squeezing out that last precious bit of gold before the next upcoming team fight, whether that's for a buyback or for a new item. They want to be as prepared can be, and that's what they're doing. The Hellborn team, of course, they're waiting for Kongor to come up. The 3rd Kongor kill will afford them a token of life as well as the bananas. Frostwolf Skull being finished up on Wretched Hag, as well as the Shrunken Head, which I believe was finished up prior to that last engagement for Magnus. Engineer picks up an Energizer, giving his team a little bit increased mobility, as well as the Tablet of Command, which is also finished up here by Galasius. Both of the support players having around 150 gold per minute. But at 48 minutes in, even that can start building up. Engineer trying to do a little bit of counter warding as the complexity team is now, they're aware that Kongor is up, and they know that the Hellborn team wants to get this Kongor. They want to finish it off, and they want to be able to use the token and the bananas that it's going to provide them to finish the game. But complexity has no desire to let that happen without a fight. Spell Shards now picked up on V-Kid. They're going to try to go in on Moon Queen. Actually, the Hellflower being applied, but the Storm Spirit in return. The Kelp Field is already out as well. The Fissure to keep Moon Queen up there on the high ground. The Bat Blast comes out, but down goes Wretched Hag. Ophelia maybe in a little bit of trouble here as Magma Stun does come out. Silhouette's into trouble. A huge ultimate there from V-Kid, though, and Moon Queen activates the Symbol of Rage, and she's going to be able to turn that one around. A nice ultimate from Magnus, and yeah, Moon Queen, as soon as she was able to get her stuff off, just kills 3 players outright there. Super KGE with a double tap. Krebson on the Magnus brings 1 home as well. Magnus is even going to find the Behemoth, going to use the Storm Spirit as well as the Lava Surge, and down goes Behemoth. A hat trick for Super KGE, and complexity will be forced to GG here in just a moment. There is a buyback available on Silhouette. She's the only player for complexity with one available, but yeah, GGs are going to be coming out now for complexity, and Lions Esports in a little bit of an upset, going to take game 1 here in this best-of-3 series, the HoN Tour Diamond losers round of 4. The losers semifinals to decide who's going to go on to losers finals 1 against Fortune Bakery or QSQ357. Complexity drops the first game here. Lions looked fantastic, able to get their farm on, able to get their gank on, their push on, played it slow and steady, safe as can be, and they were able to take a nice lead. So great job to Lions. We're going to be going into game 2 though, guys, so make sure to not go anywhere. Let's get this scoreboard on updated as Lions is up 1-0 now. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that game. It was, of course, a very, very passive game, so I hope that it was enjoyable enough, but we'll see game 2 if things might get shaken up a little bit. This is Complexity Casting. I'm your casting host, Beef, so thank you for joining me. Guys, I have to give a huge shout out to Complexity Gaming for allowing me to be here for the cast, as well as S2 Games for allowing me to cast HoN Tour. Check out Complexity Gaming at complexitygaming.com, over on Facebook at Facebook/Complexity Gaming, and Twitter at Complexity Live. Easy links for you guys down there in the info section, which is somewhat completed. I know that I've been working on that for a little while, but it's mostly done. I'm going to be adding some more stuff, of course, but make sure to check that out below wherever you see those headers. I mean, you've got the VODs down there. We got information about myself, Complexity, the organization, as well as the players, chat rules, easy links to all the social media for the players, myself, the organization. So make sure to check that one out, guys. Click on any of those social media links and it'll take you to wherever you want to be. But we're going to go to a very quick break, ladies and gents. I'm going to go ahead and get this game number 2 set up. Don't go anywhere. This is Complexity Casting HoN Tour.